Thank you all for rising early this morning, and thank you all for the work that you do. It's really exciting to be here. My name is Taylor Holloway. I'm an architect. I'm an impact strategist for the Social Impact Studio, and I'm the founder of the Public Design Agency. And I have 300 seconds to talk to you about hybridity. Next slide, please. Oh, I should have said that on that side. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to do a little participatory design exercise this morning. Raise your hand if you are a fan of hybrids. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm just checking. Okay, you're not. Okay, next slide. So if you didn't raise your hand in the last slide, I want to ask you to raise your hand if you support any of these concepts. The first is diverse perspectives. Anybody like those? Thank you. Keep them up, please. Evolutionary adaptation. Okay. The realization of the unbelievable. And the coalescence of preferences, aka Doritos Crunchy Tacos. Okay, do we have everybody's hands up? Almost. If your hand's not up, we can talk after the conference. Okay, next slide, please. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about hybridity in terms of the spaces that we occupy and the way that we create our models of practice. And we're all, in this room at least, really comfortable and aware of what hybridity feels like and what third spaces feel like. In all of the sort of spaces hybridity and practice hybridity, I believe that there are three key elements: spatial stewardship, earned revenue, and skill and information sharing. Next slide, please. And now I want to take you guys on a little trip to a town called Bakersfield. Raise your hand if you know where Bakersfield is. Okay, thank you. So Bakersfield is a town in Southern California, about 2.5 hours out of LA. It's an oil and an ag town. It's got 400,000 people. It holds some interesting statistics like it's in the nation's top 5 worst cities for air quality, and it has a poverty rate double the national average. Next slide, please. But Bakersfield also has a really rich and long history that goes all the way back to the gold rush. Blackjack Johnson lived there for 2 decades. It's also, if you're a country music buff, the home of the Bakersfield Sound and Merle Haggard. Does anybody know who Merle Haggard is? Thank you. I didn't know who he was till I moved there, but he's important. So we can go to the next slide. No, it's okay. Thank you. So something that Bakersfield has done successfully in its 200-year history is create some really beautiful monumental spaces. There were times when Bakersfield had plenty of money. It was booming oil, booming ag. And today, Bakersfield is sort of flooded with these spaces that are underused and unoccupied. Next slide, please. And they're beautiful. No, it's okay. Hey, we're just working together. So, looking at ways to prototype a new form of hybridity in Bakersfield, Public Design Agency, the current Economic Development Corporation, some expert citizens are finding a way to occupy and utilize all of these buildings. Not all of them, but as many as we can. And it's called the Dear Bakersfield series, and we're starting this year. Next slide, please. So if you guys can imagine temporary transformation of these spaces into places for socialization, for skill and information sharing, and for talking about the future, the past, the present, all of the sort of aspects of Bakersfield that we would like to say, Dear Bakersfield, I love you for this. Dear Bakersfield, I wish you were this way. Dear Bakersfield, why don't you change? Those kinds of things. How's my time? I feel like I'm almost done. Good? Okay. So, next slide. Since this is something new that we're doing in Bakersfield, and you guys are all the experts of this in the United States, I want to ask you how hybridity is working in your practices and in the places that you live and work. And I also want to ask you what sort of changes had to happen in terms of thinking and legislation and the way that people approach enterprise and business in order to make your hybrid practices successful, but also equitable, and also something that can continue, sorry. I'm like finished. I have a minute?
Anything.
I could say anything. I really would like your guys' input, because this is new for them, this is new for me, and I think it's going to be great. So please don't be shy. That's my thing back there. Thank you.